I'm going to start out with some technical evidence in this video to start the first part of my conclusion. According to my research in CIA files, CIA Dr. George Joannides brainwashed Sirhan. There were other CIA doctors that were also involved in this that I talked about in previous videos. It's all in the files, it's all in the research I've done off and on for a relatively long period of time going back decades. According to my research, the CIA was heavily involved in the murder of RFK, and so was the mob, probably at some lower level through contracting out. The mob, which would mean organized crime or some level of organized crime within the mob, had been involved in this for a lot of different reasons, in my opinion. I went to UMass School of Law at Dartmouth in North Dartmouth, Massachusetts. I've now been out of law school close to 20 years, but that is where the Rfk Assassination archive is for the whole country. I used to live about a mile from where their campus was, and that is where the archive is. So I was in there. I was in the archive at UMass. I was in the room. In 2005, I looked at probably about 50 to 100 documents in there. And a lot of the plot revolved heavily around the far right, which would be the CIA, and elements of organized crime. Thane Eugene Caesar's gun was actually tied to a mobster named John Alessio. That's also mentioned in the scheme book, or David Schein book, Contract on America. That was in the files at UMass. According to the book Double Cross, it's implied that LBJ, the military-industrial complex, the CIA, and the mob were all involved in the murder of JFK. And some of the same people were involved in the murder of RFK. It's implied in the book that they were all involved in the murder of RFK, and it's also could be interpreted in the book that mobster Johnny Roselli was involved in both of these murders. It's possible. I don't know for a fact, but I think he may have been involved in both. According to the late researcher Jim Mars, he claims Roselli's codename in the CIA was a Colonel Royalston, and he also went by other codenames within that agency, according to Mars. So it's possible that Roselli could have been involved in both. A lot of it's implied in the book Double Cross by Sam Giancana's brother. Bobby Kennedy Jr. thinks Caesar and the CIA did it. I agree with him. He's done a great job with research in his father's death. He believes Sirhan was framed, and I agree with him. I think he was a fall guy. It's apparent the deep state and the CIA didn't want the Kennedys in power. They didn't want the Kennedys back in the White House. According to the Pease book, Teddy Kennedy may have been set up at Chappaquiddick. E. Howard Hunt was in that area at the time, and Kennedy may have been drugged. That is a theory. Chappaquiddick ruined Senator Teddy Kennedy's chances of the presidency in 1972 and 76. I believe a Chappaquiddick would not have happened. Teddy Kennedy would have been president in 1972. It's obvious there was a far-right faction within the CIA and the deep state that did not want this family in power. According to Dark Journalist Podcast, or .com, the CIA doesn't want documents on Jim Garrison, George Joannides, or E. Howard Hunt out, among others. They don't want this information out, especially with Garrison and Joannides. They don't want any of it out. I think it's obvious why. They were in on all these murders from 63 to 81. Don't hold your breath when it comes to your government. When it comes to all these assassinations, like JFK, RFK, or MLK, you may never get the information. Same thing with the Epstein files. You may never get the info. Do your own research independently. Don't rely on the federal government to give it to you, because it may never happen. If you know the theories like I do, by logical deduction, you're probably going to know what's in the files anyway. former lawyer of Sirhan Sirhan, is cited in an article by the London Independent, which I have cited in my sources. He thinks RFK was killed by the military-industrial complex, the CIA, the FBI, and the LA cops. His name was Lawrence Teeter, or Larry Teeter. He's a former defense lawyer of Sirhan Sirhan. He's one of the most famous lawyers in the history of Massachusetts. He thinks they all killed RFK to keep the Vietnam War going and to keep the Republican Party in the White House during that time period. A lot of it was about money. Okay, thank you for your time. My next video is going to be my personal conclusion on the RFK murder. It's free to subscribe.